Puffy Combs. As most of you know, he has been indicted by a New York grand jury for sex trafficking, transport for prostitution, and racketeering. His first court appearance, he was denied bond. Well, he attended court again today and was denied bond again by another judge. It has been speculated that the reason that his bond was denied, possibly both times, is because he contacted a witness in or around January of 2024. If not, I stand corrected, but this is just information I've got per Fox News. 100 times, contacted a witness 100 times. That's a lot of times to contact a person. So what we have to ask ourselves is, number one, who is the witness? Why are you contacting the witness? And what did he say to the witness? How did he contact the witness? By phone, email, visiting personally, sending a messenger, voice text, text messages, what? Is this witness Cassie Ventura? Because her name keeps coming up in conversations pertaining to this grand jury indictment. Hello, Scott. His lawyers keep saying they had a relationship. They had a 10-year relationship. So basically he's insinuating that this lawsuit is pertaining to the lawsuit that she brought forward, which was a civil lawsuit last winter, 2023. He paid her one day later. And then months later into 2024, we get wind of a video of him assaulting her in a Los Angeles hotel back in 2016. So now you fast forward to September 2024, the conversations tend to stem around Cassie Ventura. So is this lawsuit from her initial civil suit against Sean Puffy Combs? I say so. I say she's the catalyst for this arrest, indictment. Sean is probably feeling very sick right now that he's incarcerated. He's in a nasty jail. He's living back in a city that he didn't want to come back to unless on his own accord. The fact that he had moved back weeks ago in preparation for this indictment, so that means he got wind that an indictment was coming. It's interesting that they arrested him at the hotel and not asked him to turn himself in. His lawyer feels that was a tactical move by the government so he wouldn't be able to ask for bail. He feels like had he turned himself in, he had the right to ask for bail. Naturally, they've offered up $50 million for bail, ankle monitoring, forfeiting the passports, which he had already done that in April, he and his children. I also find it interesting that the government asked for their passports. I could see asking for Sean's. Why are you asking for the children's passport? Maybe he felt like he would impersonate one of them to leave the country. We already know that leaving the country wouldn't settle anything. Naturally, he could go live in another country. He could possibly live off his monies, transport his monies underground to foreign bank accounts, overseas bank accounts, and live happily ever after. But it wouldn't be the same as being on the soil that you were born and raised, such as here in America. And I think we all know this. I think he has it in his head that he is above the law. He is above everyone else, that he can do and say whatever he wants to. So I'm going to go ahead and face the music and take it like a man. But that's the gist of the story. Sean is not a man. He's a thing. He's a creature. He's not a man. Because a man does not essay individuals, does not film individuals without their knowledge, does not force people into sexual acts with other individuals, does not drug individuals, put drugs in their drinks, IVs. You're hearing all of this nasty stuff that he has been accused of: coercion, blackmail, sexual assault, drugging individuals, harassing individuals, hurting individuals, setting cars on fire. The list gets longer and longer and longer. And he's just another R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, Weinstein, Epstein. They're all the same. They're nasty sexual beings, highly motivated by sex, because this is what it seems like, okay? Yes. You have to know who you're rooting for. But that's the whole point. You don't know people. You don't know who you're rooting for out here. You don't know anybody. And that's what people need to understand about, yes, putting people on pedestals. And it's nothing wrong with wanting to, talk about a person and say, hey, I like his music, I like her music, I like the movie they were in, but you don't know people. And we've heard this time and time again about famous people. And before I get into my rant, thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Vault Excel. I'm going to give you some more news, and then we're going to talk about him briefly. I'm going to let you all get on about your evening. Denied bail 2 times. Also, he has a lawsuit coming out of Michigan. And let me read you that said information briefly. Feel free to verify it on the Newsbreak app. Also, follow me there. I give commentary over there on the Newsbreak app. I have a video uploading as we speak pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs. A judge has put aside a $100 million default judgment against Sean Combs in a SA suit by an inmate named Derek Lee Cordello Smith. Mr. Smith claims that Sean drugged him and sexually assaulted him in 1997 at a Detroit party. The issue with this lawsuit is that he failed to prove effectively that he served the lawsuit in accordance to Michigan law. The judge also scrapped a temporary restraining order forbidding Diddy to sell off assets to cover damages, likely him winning due to the statute of limitations. So to break that down in layman's term, a judge scrapped a temporary restraining order prohibiting Sean from knocking off his assets to recoup monies in case of this Michigan lawsuit and other lawsuits. So basically, Sean can go ahead and sell off his goods, worldly goods, to have funds readily available in case he needs to pay somebody and or pay bail, whichsoever. So Michigan lawsuit is on hold by a Derek Lee Cordello Smith. Derek Lee is incarcerated for 14 counts of sexual assault and kidnapping. So don't you find it interesting that this African-American male is suing another African-American male, a wealthy one, for $100 million for essaying him and drugging him in 97, allegedly, but yet he's in prison for the same damn thing. Come on with it, Queen. Shut your mouth. Evenly yoked. Say it again. Evenly yoked. What are the odds? One's locked up for of taking a person's body and kidnapping. But yet they want to sue Sean for doing the same thing to them. I'll let that sit right there. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Sean may have sexually assaulted this light-skinned brother, okay? He may have assaulted him because we do know that it has been alleged that Sean likes men. There are people who said that they knew he was gay, bisexual. He likes sex with men. We've heard in the documents, charging documents, he made Cassie sleep with male prostitutes. He also forced other individuals to have sex with male prostitutes, allegedly. And there's something about that. Now, of course, this is man and woman having sex, him watching, but I won't doubt there's still something sinister to his mindset pertaining to men. It is your choice if you want to partake in sex with men on men, women on women. Everybody's grown. You do what you want to do. But when it comes to drugging people, forcing people, that's a whole different ballgame. The fact that also in the charging documents, it says that he didn't even want to pay the prostitutes their money, the sex workers their money. So this shows you how diabolical he is. He feels like his shit doesn't stink. I'm above everybody. I'm Sean. I'm Puffy. I'm Brother Love. I can do what I want. I can beat you up, drug you, give you drugs intravenously. I can do whatever I want. I can take the cookie nookie. I'm Sean. Well, see, this is what people don't understand about life. There's always a payback. It may not even come in the form of an indictment, an arrest, an allegation, a lawsuit, civil, criminal. It could come in the form of you finally meet your maker. You get sick, you get cancer, you get HIV, you get AIDS, you get something wrong with you, lupus, whatever. See, you don't know how it's going to all pan out. That's right. Exactly. You don't know how it's going to pan out. And his day finally caught up with him. His day is here and his day is now. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Sean's day is here. So once again, the lawsuit in Michigan has been put on hold, and the temporary restraining order against Sean to not dump his assets has been lifted as well. Sean can divvy up his assets for funds. But what I find interesting also with this new information is that he offered to put up equity in his mother's house alongside his house that he says I paid outright. So I'm assuming he's talking about, I don't know, the Miami house. Okay, well, if you pay for that house outright, why are you trying to sell equity out of your mother's house? Don't your mother need somewhere to stay? Why risk that? That's what I don't understand. Because more than likely, you'll probably be found guilty because they're going to bank everything off of this woman's testimony, Cassie Ventura, and the video speaks for itself. And then she's telling on herself that she participated in nasty behavior with you behind closed doors with other participants. And really, she put her life on the line and her reputation on the line. Because the average person, a woman especially, why would a woman want to tell that to the public? That she slept with male sex workers. She slept with multiple partners. She allowed a person to beat her up, talk down to her, gaslight her, hurt her, blackmail her. Why would a human want to do that? Now, we hear people coming forward every day telling their story, their version of life, what happened to them on their journey. And that could be homelessness, prostitution, being in the street, being on drugs, alcoholism, horrible lifestyle, fraud, which is so ever. But to be a random young lady, allegedly supposed to be a singer, coming out of the blue just one day saying, hey, by the way, that famous guy, he was doing this to me and forced me to have sex with Peter, Paul, Dick. You see where I'm going. Why tell that? But she did. But she did. Sean is a dirty beast. He's nasty. He's vile. He's dirty. And what I have said to the chat is what I'm going to say again in this live stream. Just imagine Sean as a regular bloke. He's the garbage man, the butcher, the baker, candlestick maker. He ain't famous. He don't have money. He ain't driving around in Rolls Royces, Benz. He's just a regular old guy driving an old Nissan or F-150, but he's vile. He likes to force people into sexual acts, beat them up, hurt them, blackmail them, set cars on fire. Imagine that. Now, the flip side is, would he be this deviant person if he wasn't famous? Is it the money that led him to be this human being? Please weigh in. I'm going to put that on a poll after this live stream. Do you think money, fame made Sean Combs into this dirty beast, or he was born this way? He would be doing these things even if he was not wealthy, well-known, famous. Once again, Sean Combs denied bail 2 times, currently in a New York jail. It is believed that he was denied bail because he contacted a witness at least 100 times. Is that witness Cassie Ventura? Has he contacted any other witnesses? Did he contact the person who he paid that money to at the hotel? How did they find that person? Will that person also be testifying against Sean Combs in an upcoming trial, federal trial? 50 witnesses have been contacted by the government. Will all 50 show up to court to testify against Sean Combs? Will he pay out any more lawsuits against the said current lawsuit? Will there be more lawsuits to come forward against Sean Puffy Combs? Naturally, when it comes to SA, it's about statute of limitations, as most of you know. Most states have laws that give you a timeline of when you can report a sexual assault, and your best option is to report it as soon as it happens. As soon as it happens. Or if you get information down the road that you were sexually assaulted, meaning, let's say you were given a drug, you blacked out, you don't remember it, and maybe you start hearing chitter chatter about your escapade, your sexual assault, should say escapade, but your sexual assault, because the The perpetrator is going to say escapade, of course. Oh, you were willing, you did it, you liked it, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's just say there's chitter chatter, as we heard in this case against Sean. He did something to a woman and she later heard about it through the grapevine. A guy came and told her, hey, there's a video circulating about you. And that was back in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Let's say you have had interaction with a male. You didn't know that you were drugged, but later you started hearing chitter chatter that you were filmed or that person's talking about you in that way, but you don't remember having sex with them. You need to go to the authorities as soon as possible, because more than likely they drugged you and you blacked out and you don't have knowledge that you were sexually assaulted. This is a dirty game out here, this thing called life. You don't know people. You don't know these famous people. You don't know the people next door to you. You don't know your family. You don't know the person you're dating, married to. People hold secrets. People are vile. And I can tell you honestly, just as a human being, some of the things I've heard from other people, their stories, their journeys, my own journeys, you'd be stunned at the stories that people could tell you. And they are factual. They are truthful. They're not made up. They're not make-believe. It's the truth. You would be stunned. Your hair would probably catch on fire, because we have nasty people out here who do nasty things. And as I have said before, this type of case is not a case of somebody stealing socks out of Walmart or stealing, a pack of steak out of Kroger. We're talking about drugging a person and taking their personal body and doing sexual things to them. And there's a reason why people drug others. It's because they know that the things they want to do to them are not things that a person would readily say yes to. So that's the reason why most men drug women. They already know she ain't going to be the type to want to talk to me or give me sex or do the kind of sex I like. So I'm going to just take it. Now, there's always been said that sexual assault is about power, but I also believe it is also about sex as well. Many ways you can dominate a human being. Many ways you can coerce a person without even having to touch them. Let's keep it real. People are manipulated every day and sex is not involved. Sex is not involved. You can manipulate a person into paying your bills, paying your rent, buying you a TV, giving you some money, and there's no sex involved. Hello, Venom. That's the point you need to understand, because you hear this all the time from therapists, experts. Oh, it's about sex. It's about dominance. It's about dominance. It's about power. I say it's about sex too, because you see a lot of these sexual sadists, they keep committing the crime. So I'm supposed to believe it's just about power? It's just only about power? I want to dominate her. I want to dominate him. Come on now. Think about all the perpetrators, whether they are men, women, they're choosing children. I'm supposed to believe it's just all about power. Because this has been said a lot about men who sexually assault women. But I don't know if I hear this a lot when it comes to people who molest children. You don't hear the word power mentioned a lot. It seems to be mentioned more when it's men assaulting women. Oh, it's power, it's power, it's about power. Yeah, it's about sex too. Because you'll hear that these people engage in pornography, which, you're grown. If you want to watch pornography, that's your business. But you do find men who are addicted to it. And it seems that when children or young people start watching pornography, it leads to other things, such as peeping through doors, peeping through windows. As we've heard with the case in Florida pertaining to Madeline Soto, it's stair step. One thing begets another. So I won't doubt that Sean Puffy Combs was possibly in nefarious situations as a child, as a young person. I won't doubt that he possibly was sexually assaulted as a boy himself, because this behavior comes from somewhere. People tend to emulate what was done to them as children. If they're around sexual beings, they're around predators, then they end up becoming predators. Not always, but sometimes. Don't know the stats. Because who's going to admit, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a predator. Nobody's just going to willingly come out and say, hey, yeah, I fancy children. Hey, yeah, I fancy binding a person, tying them up, kidnapping them, tying them up, giving them drugs, sexually to them, doing sexual things to them. And then there's physical assault to the body, strangulation, and then there's murder. And this is why I keep saying it's a stair step. You keep doing certain things, it's going to lead down the road of the worst case scenario. So while he's doing all these nasty things to these women and men, it never dawned on him they could die. You're using drugs, you're popping pills, this ketamine bullshit. Then they're probably using crack cocaine, heroin. Who knows what they were doing? And then he's also giving them intravenous drugs to keep them alive from being dehydrated. So he knows the ramifications that these people could possibly pass away from these sexual acts and these marathon freak-offs, as he called them. Freak-offs. He knows that death could happen because that's all it takes if you're using drugs and also drinking. That's why they tell you don't mix the two. So then you got to ask that question. Who's giving this these intravenous drugs? Who is the person administering them? Because he's not a doctor, he's not a nurse, he's not an LPN, he's not even a CNA to even know how to inject a person with a needle. Are you all hearing what I'm saying? So this is where we have co-conspirators. So let's ask that question. Will there be others arrested alongside Sean Puffy Combs? Number one. Number two, will he give up other people that were co-conspirators, those who booked flights, those who watched, those who put the needle to the arm for the intravenous drugs, the drug dealers that supplied the drugs, the person he bought the AR-15s from? 3 were found in his home. All were defaced with the serial numbers removed, which is a crime in the state of Florida. Was it 1 gun found or 2 or 3 found in the same location? Or were they spread out the 3 different houses? I'm curious. Also, drugs were found. 1,000 bottles of lubricants found. Who needs that? Why would one person need 1,000 bottles of lubricants, cases of lubricants, baby oil? I can honestly say I've only bought 1 bottle of baby oil at one time, and trust me, it wasn't for those reasons. It's because I'm an African-American woman, and we have to keep our skin shiny. Bottom line. Ain't got nothing to do with no sex. Same thing with lotion. 1 bottle, 2 bottles of spare, that's to keep the skin moisturized. Ain't for that. Okay? So 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants, are you serious? That shows you pattern and that shows you cause. Because you can't legally go into a court of law and explain why you have 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants. Especially if the lubricants specify it's for sexual purposes. What are you going to tell the judge? Your lawyer's going to tell the judge what reason. Oh yeah, he's got 1,000 bottles because he wanted to make sure he stayed stocked. For what? The Holocaust? And trust me, ain't too many people going to be really worried about sex if the world was coming to an end. I'm just saying. Probably got other things on your mind, such as surviving, living. Where you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, how you're going to stay afloat. How's the world going to get back to its original self? You ain't thinking about no damn sex. So those bottles in those cases show they were bought for a specific reason, not for just, I want to lather myself up for sex and or keep my body moisturized. You bought those cases for what has been said about you, the allegations, that you have sex parties where there are multiple people engaging in sexual activity. Because think about it, why would one person need 1,000 bottles of any type of lubricant? You wouldn't. I don't care if you had sex 7 times a week. You had sex a few times a day, okay? 14 to 21 times a week you had sex as a man. You would not need 1,000 bottles of lubricant. Only way you can explain that, and I don't mean to be graphic, you have a private part that's past your fucking kneecap, and you're engaging in sexual activity multiple times a day. And they're what? Mid-sized bottles? Not trying to be rude, but this is just crazy to me because the bottles show cause. He was engaged in sexual activities frequently with multiple people. And it has been said that the cases were bought to put in hotel rooms, extra linen purchase, and necessities to keep the people comfortable, towels, intravenous drugs, so on and so forth. But the weird part about all of that information, you want me to believe he's got video of these people and himself having sex for 2-3 days on end. Nobody ever had to use the restroom. Nobody ever ate. Nobody got hungry. Nobody got thirsty. I'm supposed to just believe you were blacked out for hours, sexually assaulted. At some point, you have to come to. So when you come to, then what? Oh, this must be the part where they say he forced you to stay in the room. And you don't say, hey, I want to go. Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, I'm thirsty. Hey, I need to use the restroom. This is crazy to me. Yeah, Patricia, obviously. Obviously not. But those are the latest information pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs. He's been denied bond 2 times. Second judge today denied him bail. He's offered up his home and his mother's home, equity from those 2 homes, as to pay for bail. He and his stupid lawyer wanted to offer the courts $50 million to secure him freedom on bail, which I think is also a dumb decision. Why would you want to offer up money? Why don't you let them tell you how much they want for bail? Let the court say, hey, we want this much and we'll let him walk free. They didn't want to let him walk free because he's a casualty. He is a walking, ticking bomb. As the judge said, I have no jurisdiction of what he will be doing behind closed doors. And this is where most of the assaults took place, or all of them was behind closed doors, except for the assault on Cassie in the hotel lobby back in 2016. But the sexual acts, the forced labor of the prostitutes, not wanting to pay them, all that took place behind closed doors in hotels and in his homes. So the judge is saying, I can't see behind closed doors. And even if I give him an ankle monitor, I don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. And yes, possibly a flight risk as well, since he owned a jet. But he's also saying that jet is up for sale. He has paperwork to allude to the fact that someone's trying to purchase it. But nonetheless, the judges are stupid. The acts are pertaining to sex, for sex. So I can't see you behind closed doors in a hotel, Airbnb. I don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to make sure you don't exact any crimes while waiting for trial. Now, next question. When will trial commence? What day are they going to pick for trial? Will we get it the end of the year into next year? Due to the fact that it's September, I would see trials starting sometime next year, maybe next spring, next summer, because there will be a lot of information to bring forward, getting all the witnesses together in their accounts, which I'm sure they've done a lot of research, the government, but naturally his lawyer has to be prepared to read over all the said documents and review all the said evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. So I'm going to say at least spring 24. He will get a court date. No later than early part of summer. That's the latest I have on Sean Puffy Combs. They showed his sons walking outside of the court yesterday. They were very stoic and quiet. The one son, the tall one, the dark-skinned son, I don't know his name, not to be racially biased or anything, but because I am a black person myself, but I don't know their names. I don't keep up with their names. I don't know if his name is King or whatever. He seemed very angry, upset. Naturally, he'll be upset. That's his father. But the point is, you all better hope you all don't get charged as well, because there's an allegation against one of the sons that they put something in the drink of a staff member on Sean's yacht, and the girl became dizzy, lightheaded. They were forcing her to drink. She kept saying, no, I'm on the clock. I can't drink. I'm working. She took a sip or two or however many, and she became lightheaded. Is that allegation true as well? And what's going to happen to the mule, the drug mule, the young white guy that Sean had working for him, bringing the dope that was seized off the airplane and his luggage back in the spring? What's going to happen with him? Will he testify against Sean Puffy Combs? We haven't heard anything from him in the past couple months since his arrest down in Florida at the airport. Will he testify against Sean as well? How many other people are going to testify against Sean as having dilly-dalliances with him, sexual interludes, forced rape by him? how many people will testify against Sean Puffy Combs? And once again, how can you deny that you haven't done anything when you just paid Cassie in 2023 a lump sum of money? Then you apologize after the video went viral this year, but yet your lawyer says you're innocent and you've pled not guilty. You can't plead not guilty because I believe she's the reason for this indictment, because her name is the only one they keep mentioning. They keep saying they had a relationship. So I believe they're talking about Cassie. So if you have paid her off, then you apologize for what you did to her in that video. How can you go into court and say, I'm not guilty, if she's the one bringing forward the allegations and the state is using her testimony to bring forward the allegations? That doesn't make any sense. So you're contradicting yourself. Because if Cassie is the catalyst to these charges, you have just lied in court already by saying, I'm not guilty, when you just apologized a few months ago for your behavior beating the girl up. Now, the latest information before I check out of here. His lawyer is saying there was another person in the room the day he beat her up, and that this was an issue of her being jealous, or there was some jealousy. So who was jealous of whom, Mr. Attorney? Because you didn't specify, I don't think. Because I'm not trying to hear anything you're saying, because you're a bobblehead as well, because you should know better. He's already apologized for beating the girl up, so how can he plead not guilty? So who was the girl in the room or man in the room? Who was jealous of who? So what are we saying? They woke up that morning, he still wanted sex with her and this other person. Cassie didn't want it, so she stormed. Or he was paying more attention to the other person. Who is the other person? Is the other person a man? Or the other person a woman? For all we know, it could have been more than one. Let's see. Just got a notification. Hold on one second, everybody. Trying to read this. Let's see. It says Diddy allegedly blew up Kalina Harper's phone with 58 calls after Don Richards' lawsuit. So this means 58 times he's called somebody else's phone. Somebody else who's brought forward a lawsuit. Miss Richards. Say whoa. Repeat that again. He blew up Kalina Harper's phone with 58 calls after Don Richards' lawsuit. So Don Richard has brought forward a lawsuit against him as well. And he's calling, I guess, a friend of hers or an associate or somebody to say what? So what did you say to that person, Sean? Why are you calling this person about this other person who's bringing forward a lawsuit? Why didn't you call Miss Richard? Did Miss Richard not respond? Did you not have her number? You didn't have an address? Send somebody to find her, intimidate her? So you found this other lady who knew her perhaps? Hey, she'll know how to get in contact with her. Let me find her. Let me get her. Did you already have her number on file, Miss Harper's number? And what did she say in response to whatever you said? Hey, I'm trying to find blah, blah, blah information on Miss Richard. She's suing me for this, this, and this. See, this is a hot butter mess, because we already heard that you've contacted one person at least 100 times. And I won't doubt that's Cassie Ventura. You probably contacted her the most because she's the initial person that got the jump off for your said charges. Because it looks like these charges are because of Cassie Ventura. So what does Miss Harper know? What does this lady know? Is she friends with Miss Richards? Or he feels like he could use her to get to her by phone number, email, whatever. It's sad and it's pathetic. And as one man said to me recently, a man who is, hell in my eyes, a damn dog his damn self. a liar. He said, I never can understand why men sexually assault women. I don't want a woman that I have to sexually assault or force her into having sex with me. Well, I had just met this person, don't know him from a can of paint. For all I know, he may have done the same damn thing. Who's to say? But I agree with the statement. Let me say that. Why would a man want to force a woman or man into sex? If you think the person won't be interested, then that's on you. You're either gonna ask them, hey, would you like to have some fun? Would you like to get down? Wait for the response. You don't say to yourself, well, I don't think he or she will want it, or I'm gonna dominate them, I'm gonna put this drug in their drink. Why don't you ask? What's the old saying? Ye shall receive? Right. Seek and ye shall find. Well, how are you gonna know what they're gonna say until you ask? You ask them, they say, no, I'm not interested. No, not today. Then take it at that. Keep it moving. Find you somebody else. Because that's the thing about sex is that there are a lot of willing participants. There are many people out here who will engage in activity with a human being. So there is no logical reason to go out here hunting people down to sexually assault, breaking in their houses, their cars, following them down lonely streets and accosting them in apartment building vestibules and hallways. Go find you somebody who will willingly partake. You don't need to sexually assault a human being. You don't need to drug them to then have to sexually assault them. It's ignorant. And why would you even want to be labeled a sadist? Why would you even want somebody to even come back and say that about you? Oh yeah, he sexually assaulted me. And then here comes the he said it and she said it and going back and forth. No, I didn't do that. You gave it to me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, so you admit we were in the room then. It's a sick world we live in. And sadly, many women have told these stories and weren't lying, and police didn't believe them because she went out on a date with him, or she went to his apartment, or he came to her apartment, her house. And so the detective will say, well, we can't prove it wasn't consensual because there was an invite. There was an agreement for the two people to meet. And that's a sad thing to be accused of, is a liar, just like it's a sad thing to be accused as being a predator. So it's a double-edged sword. Who do you believe? But let's be truthful. If the woman is beat and battered, hair pulled out, eye damn near missing out her socket, bloodied, bruising on her body parts, legs, arms, private areas, tearing in the private areas, I think you can best assert she or he was sexually assaulted and did not consent. Because I don't know anyone that wants to consent to being beat up and battered and have their body parts torn just to get some sex. Come on now. Another thing I want to touch on as well. Sean Puffy Combs has girl children. We also getting information that one of the girl children is not pleased with her father. She loves him, but she doesn't seem to be too happy with the latest events. And maybe she is removing herself from this daughter-father equation. Don't know if that's true or not. You have to be careful with reading content, not knowing what is the truth. But I want everyone to think about that as well before I check out of here. Sean has a lot of kids. He also raised Albie Shure's son as his own. Albie Shure was doing his best to try to get that boy to come back into his fold. And I guess to see Sean for what he is worth, what he is about. Don't know the dynamics of all of them as of yet. But what's sickening to me is that one, Sean is a man who has decided to live this way. It is pathetic and sad that he's a black man to me, because we need all the positive role models we can get out here as African-American people. And it's not to say we're not flawed or aren't going to make mistakes. That's any race. But it's just disturbing because we know how hard it is to get in the business of singing, acting, dancing, how long it takes to perfect the craft to get acknowledged. And the fact that he would use his resources and his talent to stalk and assault women and men is baffling. And we also have to use deduction. What type of father was he to these female girls? Because they had to have seen some not so good qualities in him alongside his boy children as well. And if we're to believe that his boy children have engaged in the same type of activity, then what have the girls been doing? What have the girls seen and heard? And I'm going to be truthful. Any man that behaves in this manner, I would not doubt that he possibly could have also assaulted his own girl children. And I think that's something that everybody needs to think about, because he is obviously overly sexed mentally, physically. He gets a charge by having sex. He gets a charge with having group sex. He gets a charge by having forcing people to have sex, engaging and bringing people into the bedroom with other people, his partners. So imagine this person as a parent. He's a parent of young people. This is not somebody you want as a father, a role model. And I don't understand why he still has legal custody of the girl children, because he should not have custody of them. Whether he went to court or not, the fact that you have a video of him beating a woman in a public place should have been grounds for him to lose custody of his girl children, point blank. That's not including the allegations of sexual improprieties, which has to be proven naturally in a court of law, but you have video of him beating a woman. And to me, that's enough to show he's a violent person. And the allegations of him setting cars on fire, having other people conspiring with him to do so, once again, has to be proven, but he has been alleged to brag about it. So now you think about all what you have heard about Sean Puffy Combs in the past year, plus whatever you heard about him in the past, because I didn't keep up with all the he said, she said pertaining to Sean. Now you factor that into him being a father of girl children and boy children. He's definitely not someone that needs to rear children. He does not need to have access to children. He does not need to have access to babysit children. He don't need to be around grandchildren. If his children ever decide to have kids, he don't need to be near nobody under the age of 18. And frankly, if you're over 18, you need to be very careful to be in his company, because he is mentally deprived. And that Stevie J character, you've been hanging on to his coattail for dear life the past year. And one would wonder what the fuck you two got going on, because it's eerie and creepy that you, every time we look up in a photo, you're right there, just riding his coattail, getting all you can get for free. And we have learned about free. Free ain't really free. There's a price tag for goodies. Stay woke. And if this man is known to be a homosexual, bisexual, hell yeah, he'll be coming on to you. And for all we know, you done already done something with him. I'm going to go ahead and say it. You don't have to like it. He wouldn't be a friend of mine. That's it. Because there's just too many fables that are being spun about him. And more than likely, you have known and heard and seen and possibly participated in these fables alongside Sean, because you're getting something out of dealing with him. And that's the whole point of why this is still an open investigation. Perhaps they want to bring down others who have participated in these freak-offs and the abuse of other persons. We also learned that these women and men flew across the states and out of the country. So will we find out that these people were sold into modern day slavery with other wealthy participants? Will we find that out? That other wealthy people took a part of these freak-offs here in the United States and also abroad, met with Sean Puffy Combs in hotels, homes, mansions, and they all participated in these freak-offs together. Sold, bartered, however you want to word it. And the fact that he forced some of these women, men, into sex acts and didn't even want to pay them, or let's say, they showed up, they were ready to go home. He said, oh, no, we ain't done. Or, hey, I'm ready to go, but he didn't want to pay them. That's what's being alleged about Sean. He didn't even want to pay the sex workers for their work. So that's another allegation, forced labor. How many workers did he hire and reneged on payment? This is devastating, because you wouldn't think a human being would be this low rent. It's bad enough you're drugging women, men, having sex with different people, forcing different people to have sex, wanting your girlfriend to participate in the sex, probably forcing her. That's why a lot of people gonna probably have a problem with Cassie, because this shit went on 7 to 8 years, 10 years. Why would you participate in this? Because abuse is abuse. Whether it's just physical, mental, it's still wrong. People are gonna judge if you stay, and it wasn't no sexual abuse. But you really can't explain this logically, why a woman would want to stay and be in group sex. I don't want to sleep with this girl, this man. I don't got to. So that means I need to leave this guy alone, because this is all he's about. And you already know he's talking bad to her, talking down to her, gaslighting her, hitting her. Now I got to sleep with other people too. So this is adding extra on to an already abusive situation. And definitely I can't understand Lil Rod's role. How is a man allowing another man to force him to have sex with other people? So you want us to believe in 1 year you were only drugged one time, and then poof, you disappeared and left his apartment, his home. I don't believe that. I believe you were down for the ride, because you cannot logically explain to the queen a grown man staying in a man's house and saying that he was forcing him into sexual acts and drugged him, and he's waking up disoriented in the bed with him and other people. Well, then you should have got your fucking clothes and your little Kroger bag and packed up your stuff and left Sean's home. That's what you should have done. You hanging around in that man's house for a year with all these ratchet behaviors, and you saying Cuba Gooding Jr. was coming on to you on a yacht and all this type of nonsense, then you should have left Sean alone. When Sean made his first pass at you, allegedly, you should have packed up your stuff and left. You should have told him, hey, I'm not interested. I ain't that way. Walked out, got your shit, and went the fuck on. When you saw the way he was treating women, men, sex workers, you should have left. Because I refuse to believe a grown man would stay in the midst of this type of behavior if he didn't like it himself. And if you only stay just to have you a place to stay and to work with a legend and get your name out there, well, now look at the repercussions. Are you doing any better now? Is your life much better now? Do you have a millions of dollars packed in the bank now? Are people calling you for work now? Are people wanting to collaborate with you now? That's the point. Because I don't think you got an even swap. And possibly that's why you brought forward a lawsuit against Sean. You didn't get all what you wanted. And I'm not saying he didn't drug you. But what I'm saying is, I do believe you saw signs of him being deviant early on, and you rode the ride. And as a man, I don't understand how you can be given a pass. Because it's one thing for these women and men to be going back and forth dealing with him knowing he's a deviant. Because I'm wondering that as well. How many people got shortchanged by him, sexually assaulted, drugged, knew it, and then went back? And then went back. People will judge you for that. Because they're going to say, well, you knew he did this to you, why'd you go back? And that is a question that can be asked. That's why I have a question with a man saying, I stayed with him a year. So people are going to say, well, damn, for a whole year, you didn't see signs that something was wrong with him? You had to have seen signs, but you stayed. Why would you stay and you're a man? Now, someone said, well, Queen, that's not fair. Maybe he's weak-minded. Maybe he is. But I revere a man differently when it comes to this type of behavior. You don't have to ride the ride. The woman, she don't either. But we see that men can dominate a woman, especially if they're in a relationship with them, have her doing all type of crazy whack shit, and then say, oh, I love you, I care about you, I apologize, and then go back and repeat the same behavior over. You're a man and you're not in a relationship with him. What are you gaining by being a part of this? That's my point. That's my commentary, everybody. Thank you for joining me once again. Sean Puffy Combs denied bail 2 times, this time by a second judge. Allegation of a lawsuit of sexual assault out of Michigan has been put on the back burner for the moment. That man is Cordello Smith, Derek Lee Cordello Smith. He claims that he was sexually assaulted by Mr. Combs in 1997 at a Detroit party. The state feels as though The judge feels like he has not effectively proven that he served the lawsuit in accordance to Michigan law. And also, I guess it's the same judge scrapped a temporary restraining order against Sean, forbidding him to knock off his assets as to recoup monies for future, I guess, lawsuits and payments. So Sean can divvy up his finances as he sees fit for the meanwhile. And the $100 million lawsuit by inmate Derek Lee Cordell Smith has been put on the back burner, and that man also is in prison for 14 counts of sexual assault and kidnapping. Imagine that. That's the latest, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your comments below this video. Take the polls on my community page. Follow the Queen on the news on Newsbreak, where I also give commentary and video uploads on that app. And if you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful week. Check out my movie suggestions on my page. I will have a wonderful TV series for you all to watch this weekend that's playing on Hulu, and I can't wait to share that with you. And I have 2 movie suggestions for this week for those of you who like mysteries and thrillers. Thank you so much for your time. You have been listening to the Vault XL.